Today we're going to connect to the text and compare texts using this fable on pages 20 and 21 in your student magazine. And then we're going to also look at some poetry on pages 28 and 29. Let's start here with The Frog in the Milk Pail. This is a fable. It begins on page 20 in your student magazine. Look at the title and illustrations, and set a purpose before you read this text independently. Pause the video and read through The Frog in the Milk Pail. Now that you've read the fable, The Frog in the Milk Pail, let's think through the text. Remember to pause the video and have a short discussion with your learning adult about what you just read. Who is the main character in the fable? And how do you describe the frog? What details in the story support the moral? Remember, a single story can have multiple meanings. What could be another moral of this story? Now let's look at the poetry that starts in your student magazine on page 28. Listen as I read the first 6 lines of the poem, Toad by the Road. I'm only a toad by the side of the road, watching the world go by. Some hustle and hurry, some bustle and scurry, some wiggle, flicker, or fly. The first 3 lines are one sentence, but each line shows how the phrase in the sentence should be grouped. Read Toad by the Road and the Poisoned Dart Frogs on page 29, and come back to the video when you're done so we can think through the poems you just read. Let's think through the text. Remember to pause the video after each question and have a short discussion. What does the poet mean when she says, some hustle and hurry, some bustle and scurry? Does the poet think the people or the toad has the right attitude? What does the second poet mean in the last line? How do you think the poets feel about amphibians? And what is the evidence from the text? Now it's time to compare texts. You're going to do that with one of these 3 connections: text to text, text to self, or text to world. Listen carefully, and remember you can always rewind the video and listen to the questions again. In text to text, you're going to use text evidence from the selections in this lesson to support your response to these questions. How does the author of Amphibian Alert show that amphibians are important? The other question is, why do the fable and poem make the frogs seem like people? Do you think the frogs really think the way people do? In text to self, you're going to think about why other animal species should matter to you. By answering this question, how could the extinction of another species affect your life? In text to world, you're going to deepen your thinking and have a discussion about what can people learn from other animals, and do people have a responsibility to protect other forms of life? All right, so choose one of those connections: text to text, text to self, or text to world. Remember, you can go back in the video to listen to the questions again.